So today we're going to talk about fear, like your biggest fear, that unconscious fear that is possibly controlling most things in your life and you don't even know it. But first, I have what I would call maybe a funny story, kind of embarrassing, yet really looking to be transparent on this channel. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Hangover or if you've watched The Office, but there is a Hollywood actor named Ed Helms. And people say, I look like him. And this has been going on for a long time. One of these days I went as him in The Hangover for Halloween. I'll show you that picture. Yet, the story for today is last week, I was having a pretty tough week. I was in fear, and I'm going to share that in this video. And it wasn't fun. I was spiraling and, downward. And I, things just kept, I was fixating on things and I was just kind of going down that negative hole. And I was actually having a conversation with my wife, Megan. And, I was kind of complaining. I was kind of in some victim. I was having some feelings. And we were in our room and The Office was on. And, I'm sharing stuff with her. And I was like, I just feel like the universe is punking me. Okay. And at that time, the episode was Andy went to Florida to get his girlfriend back, essentially. She left because they had broken up or something. And he realized how much in love he was. And so the character Ed Helms, Andy in The Office, went to go get her. And, we were watching that and I said to my wife, I just feel like the universe is punking me. And here's what happened.
Why won't she go with him?
I don't know. Maybe it's because he's not that handsome.
Hey, don't listen.
Right? And so here's this character that people say look like, like me. And I say, hey, the universe it's punking me. And then that happens. So that was kind of the epitome of last week. So my name is Gavin. I'm excited you're here. This is what I call the 1 minute vlog, where I share, ideas, concepps, and ways that you can remember who you really are, that we can experience oneness. And I'm pretty much bringing you along on my journey. There's so many wonderful people out there that I'll be sharing with you that do a great job of teaching spirituality, concepts, oneness. And yet what I feel guided and called to do is to share the whole journey, not just like the concepts, but like I'm in this with you. I'm like boots on the ground going through this like mental hardship of life and on this planet and time and space, right? And I'm transparently, very openly sharing my journey with you as a way to get to heal and remember with you. And I feel like what I'm gathering is that it can be a lot more, just another avenue of help and guidance to relate to some of my stories so that you can look at things in your life, look at the separation in your life, look at what the perceived problems and issues and pain, and then, have that awareness, see that, and possibly some of the things I share and what I'm doing would either inspire you or help you or lead you down a path towards your own healing, right? So that's the mindset. I'm excited you're here. Last week, I didn't really do many videos. I was busy. I wasn't in a good space. I did do a video last week and I was crying on there. I don't know if I'll have that raw emotion today. It's a little embarrassing because, I'm putting this out there, but it's also like, we're all going through this journey. It can be tough. You can get your ass handed to you. And I feel like that's happened a lot. So let's talk about fear today, right? And what I try to do on these videos is this progression of a share, and then, how I'm seeing it, how I'm, becoming aware of it, like my perception on it. And there's going to be times you're going to see like you're just going to be able to be witness of like my perception is coming from like my higher self. And there's going to be other times you're going to be like, oh gosh, he's an ego, right? And I hope that the transparency will, awaken some stuff in you. And one of my gurus, teachers that I really like at Course in Miracles, David Hoffmeister, he talks about no private thoughts, no people pleasing. So yeah, I'm going to share stuff on here that is outside of my comfort zone. And because when there's no private thoughts, there's only one mind. That's the concept, is there's only one mind. There is no separation. So all these things we see out there, we think are like, oh, that's other people feeling that way. That's not, me. That's not anything I'm responsible for. And so when we put the, private thoughts out there, it's like this acknowledgement of maybe how we feel, or like what we're seeing and our interpretation of the world that we're not acknowledging. And then no people pleasing, like that's being aware of like what we do based on feeling lack or feeling fear or what we feel like we need to do, which is a separation from truth, from who we really are. There's nobody we need to please. There's nothing out there that needs to go differently or better or the way we want for us to experience our reality, our oneness, right? So those two concepts, people pleasing and private thoughts, I'm trying to dissolve. I'm intentionally putting out there outside of my comfort zone on here. So here's my fear. Now, there's many layers to it, and this is years of like seeing these patterns. I have this pattern that just happens over and over and over again, okay? And it usually has to do around with my career and my purpose, and that, I have this limiting belief that there's a certain way that I earn money and how I take care of my family, and that of like what I'm good at. And so I've just kind of been in this cycle that isn't fun. It's not something I enjoy a lot of the times. And like the interesting part about it is I'm good at it. It can be decent money, but it's always so much pressure. Like, I'm in sales, and I've been able to do it in a way that, it's about service. It's about, love and the transference of love and helping them get what they want and working for good companies. Yet, you're always about that day. You're always about like that sale. And if things don't go the way, you kind of like what you're out there, don't get paid, right? Which is like scary. And so my fear, and this is what I've really realized, is I get very angry that I'm in the same situation. And then I feel like it's not fair. I feel like last week I felt like, I don't know if my boss likes me. I don't know if it's fair with like how they're, running things and running, appointments, right? I don't know how this is going to turn out. I had just from every angle, I had fear coming up. And so then I started coming up with these stories that I have no idea like what's really going on, but I was making them like that way, like, oh, this is this way, oh, they're against me, or this is a bad lead, or this is a long ways to travel. I could go on and on. That's not part of what matters. What matters is I was making up these stories that I didn't really know, and I call that getting caught up in the illusion. And what that looks like is fear. And what's really happening with fear? It's a lack of faith. It's a lack of belief in who we really are, and that we think something's going to turn out in a way that is like bad, that's negative, that's going to cost us something. And what I've realized is like, I feel like I can say this now without like having tears, but like my ultimate fear is that like I'm going to let my family down, that like, I have a kid in college, another one going soon, and that, I want to provide like a safe a living for them, and, be able to do things. and that like that won't be able to happen. And that has manifested in some ways. There's some things that I would like to do that I wasn't able to do because of feeling lack or having lack or, bills or being behind. And so, my ultimate fear is, yes, like worrying about bills. Yes, worrying that like the things I want to do for them might be difficult or not possible. Yet the underlying fear around that is like, I'm going to let them down and I'm going to lose them. Like, I have somehow defined myself as husband, as father, as like the provider. And that if it doesn't go a certain way, like they're going to be mad at me. They're going to feel let down. They're going to be hurt. And, some of the feelings I have felt like when I was younger or whatever, that like is going to happen to them. And I have this fear around that. I don't want that to happen. And so that came up for me last week. It's still coming up for me. I really went there. I had the feelings, and that's what I want to say to you is it's important to have the feelings. It's important to have that awareness. Like the reason this cycle has happened for 20, 25 years is because I haven't really looked at the underlying fear that I'm not enough, that I feel lacking, that I'm denying what truth is, that I look at happiness as like results and money and achieving goals, things I've said before. And then, there's when it doesn't go that way, exactly, I feel like a failure and I feel that lack. So I'm mirroring to myself how I really feel underneath. And it's like, I know it's there. And so that's where the fear surfaces. And what I want to share with you, I've been watching Aaron Abke a lot lately. I highly recommend him. Always watch David Hoffmeister. Is that I try to everything I do is I try to avoid that fear by getting the result. And then thinking then I'll be okay, then I'll feel loving, then I'll feel oneness, then I'll come from joy and peace and abundance. Yet the gift, the absolute gift, is that darkness showing up, that fear showing up, because it's showing me how I'm perceiving myself. It's showing me the illusion. It's showing me the non-reality. And unless I'm willing to look at that, unless I'm willing to be aware of it and shift from that and heal that and let that go, then of course it's just going to be this cycle that's, this operating system under the surface that's just going to repeat itself. And I'm telling you, I am so ready to let this go. That's why I'm doing this video. What are you so ready to let go, right? Because this is my fear. And I told my wife this other day. My fear is if I let this go, this is the fear behind the fear. If I let this go, I don't even know who I am. That's what I've done my whole life. I've worried. I've pursued things. I think money solves my issues and my problems. And so I'm this is what I have said, even in my book club group. I don't even know what that looks like. If I let go of the worry, if I let go of the fear, I'm scared I'm gonna lose them, because it's my mind is well, would you be doing any of this stuff if you actually didn't believe in it? And my soul, I can feel it. It's hell no, you wouldn't be doing it. And then my ego is yeah, but that's, that's not fun. You're gonna, you can deal with all kinds of really rough stuff. You could lose it all. You could lose what your semblance. And that's where I get trapped, is that then I get trapped in that thinking that it's gotta look a certain way, that this is all I'm good at, that this is who I am. And then I close down my heart, and it feels awful. And then like I might, look at avenues of like having a few more drinks than I would normally have, and like self-soothing that makes me feel worse, and eating bad food and not exercising. And it's all stemming from this like belief in who I am that is not real, that is false. And I know so many people relate to this, right? I know that there's so many things that we do in the name of like need and have to, right? And I'm sharing this because there'll be days of tears, there'll be days of darkness, but there's also going to be like sharing the joy and the abundance. And like, I want people, I don't know where this is going, but I want people to go back and like start on day one and be like, look at this progression. Like, look what happens when like you hand it over to the universe, when you hand it over to spirit, when you allow the guidance and you just follow your heart. I'm scared shitless. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing these, I don't know. It's all this competition out on YouTube. There's all this like people who it's like this imposter syndrome. Like, who are you to go out there? And here's the thing, I'm you. Like I'm you having a conversation with you, which looks like through the, focus or perception of another person. But there's no accident you're here. There's no accident I'm here. Like we're awakening together. We're ascending together. And the reality is we're already there. We just don't realize it. And that's what this journey is realizing it. So how I would, tie this up is like, really like acknowledge your fear. Like how you can go about that is what are things you don't like doing? Like work backwards. And then like look at why do you do that? And if you didn't do that, then what would happen? And like you're gonna get answers to your fear there, right? You're gonna be like, oh, like that's what it is. And that's when I looked at it, I was like, gosh, I'm scared to death of like, losing what I feel like matters to me, with my wife and my kids. And this is in my head. This isn't anything they've said, right? It's all my doing. And then it's also like, we're personifying, we're creating, we are, our beliefs are mirroring this back to us and showing up. And like, that's wonderful news. Yet it also is like, oh my gosh, like, the answer is like, I have to like, see it differently. And like, that could be painful. Like I'm going to have to go to some places that can be not fun. And I'm willing to do that because I freaking know, like I know who we are. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to know it. I've had so many glimpses. I've had so many days where I'm in that bliss, and then like hours or days later, forget it and be back in that heaviness, be back in that darkness, be back in like fear and limitation and lack. And it sucks. It sucks. I know you, if you're here, you know what I mean. So go there, go within. Have conversations with other people. Like say, what do you see? Like my wife, she'll listen and be supportive and loving. And then she'll just like, hey, like what you're saying is ridiculous. It's not true. That's not true. And she'll kind of snap me back into it and give me a little love slap, not anything physical, but that's what the universe is doing constantly. When you're not happy, when we're not feeling joy, when we're not connected and aligned and in source, the universe is saying, hey, you've forgotten. And it makes it louder and louder and louder and louder when we don't listen. And as we listen, the shift starts happening. We get nudged in this direction. I feel like now I'm getting pushed. I feel like it's more of like a forceful sledgehammer, right? It's like, we know how serious you are, Gavin, and we know how serious the people are who are watching these videos. And we're here. You just have to listen, and you have to be willing to go through and see that darkness so you can let the light in. You've got to be willing to uncover that veil that is the lack of remembering truth and who you are to get there. And this is what it looks like, right? And there's days it's agonizing. It's been so agonizing in so many different ways. And then there's days there's just the perfection's unfolding, even if it doesn't happen the way that I was hoping or wanting. I'm gonna end this on something that happened yesterday. Today's February 15th. Yesterday was February 14th. And when I got on social media, I saw that Dave Hollis passed away. I almost did a separate video on just this topic. I may still at some point. I was crushed. I never met Dave Hollis, yet I feel like he was like a soul brother of mine. Like on videos, he was just goofy, and you'll see more goofiness from me. He was real. He didn't care. He was open. He wanted to share his love. And I guess he had a heart problem. Not gonna go there. About a month ago, and this is a very healthy guy. Run all kinds of half marathons, fit. A lot of what he talked about was health. And then I guess he died in his sleep on last Saturday, just a few days ago. And it's just that reminder of none of us know. And I get caught up in gosh, this is harder than I was expecting. This is oh my gosh, why is it so hard to get this? Why I've been dealing with this for decades and on this spiritual journey, and then I can just go and completely forget it all and just be in this dark space, why, and this not fair issue I have. And Dave shared so much of his light, and whether that was just his soul's journey was over. I know where Dave is now. I know Dave is eternal and fine and all is well. Yet, if we're still here, my message is to you and to myself that there's more to remember. There's more to experience. The adventure continues, and it's a gift. It's an absolute gift, even when it doesn't feel like that. So go into the fear, look at it, shed it, dissolve it, heal it. I'm going to give you more ways, things I'm doing. We've got this, all right? So if you haven't subscribed, I'd love to hear from you. What's your fear? I want this to be a community. I want to connect. I want to know you, and I know it's, this video, but who knows, how I can be there for you. I am working on just service. What can I give? Because that giving is the example of who we all really are. It's the mirror, the abundance. So, comment, I'll talk to you soon. See you soon. Bye-bye.